Driv3r, a game which I like playing in my childhood. Not the story though, it was too hard for me. I gave up on the game after the second mission because I was too stupid to tell the escapee. The game was interesting to me because of elements like the sandbox and the physics. I turned cars into scrap metal and got into fights with the local police force and occasional gangsters who got caught up. Maybe those guys also were undercover cops, at least I thought they would be. It was just beautiful to shoot at objects, how they react to the impact and environment. I've spent ages to destroy Tanner's house. But how's BeamNG Drive? Is the story any good? How are the missions? I've asked myself that questions many times while daydreaming. Then 1 year ago I got my answers. The game is quite literally a scandal. For the most part the gameplay is at fault, but Atari's bribery of gaming magazines takes also a huge part. They went ahead and handed out exclusive review copies for good magazine reviews. I won't go any further into this, because some guy already made a video about this and everyone did copy him. Some kind of scandal itself. Just look up Drivergate and you'll be there. Also, Rockstar Games' competitor product was too famous. Driver3 was dead on arrival. Very good was that Grand Theft Auto 3 and Grand Theft Auto Vice City already made fun of the Driver prequels. GTA 3 pulls Tanner through the mud in one mission. Then Vice City came and also treated Tanner real bad. Thus I got to the game again. Then I've looked up PC Gaming Wiki and I found the Definitive Edition mod and I went ahead interstellar it. I need to announce that I played the Space Station 2 version in the pasta. The mod switches vehicle textures with better ones, coming from another game build. More I couldn't find browsing the interwebs. The patch though does not make me running the game at full resolution. Then I discovered Fusionfix, coming handy solving that problem. Downloaded the mod, put those two files into the scripts folder, and they didn't put the LL into the main school directory. Okay, enough IT speak, let's get started. We're a undercover cop pig which landed into hospital. The game puts us in the character of John Tanner. We are experiencing on our little trip everything which got us into hospital. The cutscenes are directed really cool and feature talents such as Michael Madsen and Mickey Rourke, that guy who's known for his voice lines in Bethesda's Rogue Warrior. Rest in peace to Michael Madsen, by the way. Unfortunately, there are no real-time cutscenes and the graphics are not in relation to the ones in the gameplay. Screw it! The game came out back in 2004. It was the PS2 era. It covered many map areas with diverse buildings and graphics are not the biggest problem of this title. I rarely say that while talking about video games, but the story wasn't interesting at all, because I've had no relation to the story. The missions start at the menu and also end with a menu. It's not like I have to drive to a mission giver, watch a cutscene, fulfill the mission goal and watch another cutscene as a reward. To Driver's defense, both predecessors handled it the same way. Another big contribution to this alienation adds that graphics problem. The cutscenes just look like a CGI render with proper lighting, shadows, etc. But the gameplay and thus the world the game exists in just looks how the game really is rendered. All I know is that Tanner was very trigger happy in the past, and in some moments he triggered a bullet when some little doubt raised. This was a big mistake, which got him a clap on the wrist. Later, Tanner finds himself in some similar situation. He shows mercy, but this time he is the one getting shot.
Mistake. Get this, you fucking retard, you dead piece of shit.
He lands in hospital and bites the dust later. Tanner has to shoot his way through as a cop and driver. He can explore the cities of Miami, Nizza and the capital city of Turkey, Istanbul. For the most time he sits behind the wheel, crashes cars because you can't rip traffic lights out of the street concrete like the competitor games do. Boats are also in his repertoire, but be careful, first decelerate before getting up. Things go nuts around here. There is action on the streets, on the sea, or even off-road. Tanner's controls suck. He's very slow walking forwards, but gets faster while walking sideways, and he's really allergic to fall damage. There are chase missions, rail shooter segments, or even missions where you got to shoot as the passenger who we're taking control of. Or even checkpoint collection tasks, like obstacle courses, to prove that Tanner ain't no cop. Sometimes things go boom when objects break. Cars which he has to steal should be in peppermint condition. There is only a little number of 26 missions. When one is done with the story, he can play some minigames or get all the collectibles plus secret vehicles. There is a recap function which is made to show what happened in the last mission. I don't know exactly, because the feature is bugged, because it thinks you're starting the first mission. Like I said before, I don't give a damn about the story, because the graphics differ too much from the story, which made me feel disconnected, so I don't care. My personal favorite of the whole storyline, the mall mission. In our 4-door, we're being chased by the cops through a shopping mall. Each and every stinking pig police officer from Miami shoots at us, and we have to drive through window this place. And the whole action is good underlined. There is a lot of chaos because the cops shoot at us. Our car is withstanding it though because it's solid enough. Everything is perfect. The mall is linear enough, so the player knows where the exit is, which did not stop me from turning around to interact with the breakable environment. At the end, we are arriving at the rendezvous point. Lose the cops while being added, and then we've been told to sink the car into the water. I recommend you to bypass the cops because the car is haunted. Finally, a mission which isn't annoying. There isn't a time limit either. This mission here also covers all the problems coming with the physics. The mission with the box containing explosives shows this very good, my friend. The content is so sensitive that at the smallest breakage the bar fills up, causing the box to explode. This makes you drive alongside the beach so the enemies can't find you and you don't have to brake again. Also, the enemy placement gets really annoying and feels kinda cheap. Not only in that mission, there are more spots in other missions around. Similar to the Grand Theft Auto franchise and in any other game, there are gimmicks, special features to complete the goals. It's not only about to move from point A to point B to make progress, but what if someone wants to hinder your ass? That's what you need gimmick for. Many of them specials are very special snowflake features. For example, in this segment we're not allowed to drive under 60 miles per second. If we don't follow that instruction, we'll be blown up, quite literally. There shouldn't be any difficulties if the game doesn't order me to turn around and keep my speed in the process. There is no path and I have to find out what to do. But that's not the worst. After that, I need to blow up a truck on some compound with jumping out frame perfect out of that car. Before that, I got to pass the entrance without losing any speed. The mission features some gimmicks, so the game gets the right mix. Most of these gimmicks are okay, but the worst gimmick, which the devs better cut, is the physics in that forklift mission. Tanner finds himself in some boatyard. The enemies are wielding that door open and he has to escape. Simple task. If there wouldn't be the shit physics. I have to use the box to fill in that gap so I can pass that catwalk. To load the box up to the forklift is no problem at all, but when you start driving it starts to slip around, and so the idea of restarting the missions become really lucrative. It's like the box does not have any weight and no friction, as if you'd balance a balloon. By the way, I don't hate to make the player to rations his half-life resources. But stop that despawning of DD bodies plus their guns. I have to add that a few missions ago the goal was written in the middle of the display, where you can actually see it. The communication to the player is really bad. It's never clear or marked what's to be done. In this mission, where you should get to the restaurant, a vehicle is placed with enemies standing around it. The area is blocked off with huge brick barriers. So I'm getting out, start cleansing the area. Then, out of nothing, the window display of the restaurant gets destroyed. So I'm killing all of these enemies and then I'm wandering around for the rest because I did not knew what was happening. Then I'm getting in the car, the text appears, smash into restaurant. You could have told me that earlier. You could have made a camera pan to signal me what I got to do. After that the arrow made sense, or you could have placed the player right into the vehicle. The whole sequence would have been much better if I'd rammed through that window display. I would have accepted this handicap of freedom just for this effect. One mission sends us to protect the character Catalina. I kept this mission in mind because of the fake multiple choice thing. In the description you get told that Catalina got attacked. You can find, intercept and take the truck out or protect Catalina, which is utter nonsense because Catalina will be run over by it. So you have to intercept the truck so it doesn't make its destination. After that you drive to her location to protect her from the attackers. Where was I to choose? The text tells me about an A or B scenario, but in truth I ain't had no choice. Speaking about multiple choice and different approaching methods, this mission called Dodge Island is also a little highlight, at least right before the ending. Our objective is to flee with our Ferrari until this point here and then to keep on fighting through the enemies on foot, or even to completely walk through. I did the mission again from start because when I arrived I already was on low health and because the checkpoint system sucks. I am very grateful for the checkpoint system to exist at all, but that it saves my exact health status is just blatantly unfair. At least give me half of my HP back. Nobody will be able to beat the mission that way. The balancing is missing because your ass is getting shot at from every corner. It costs you much HP anyhow. You yourself can see that it's almost impossible to make any kind of progress. I understand that the player has to be animated to behave in traffic, but this should not stand in the way of the mission. We speak later about traffic rules. After starting all over again, I had me some better chances at driving, shooting and escaping. I like the mix of the new mission, being able to flee with a car or to shoot on foot, but also it's possible to walk around the island, which is intended because you also cross some enemies there. Another great loss is that this way out is blocked by some indestructible truck. Can't move it out of your way no matter what. So where is the gate left or to go for a swim? I recommend swimming because I already see some enemies on that radar. They're scanning the streets for us. with the PC version and how the cover reveals to us there is one extra free mission. I think that the mission is PC exclusive because the Police Station 2 couldn't handle it. The map is full of enemies, effects and vehicles, which certainly drop the performance. To your non-surprise, it's bad. We're chasing down some asshole who attacked us in our home. We do this on our bike. The bad guy is on his boat. So we're driving at the beach, dodging his assistants who shoot at us with fucking grenade launchers. Pretty action packed and adrenaline pumping premises, but the game punishes us by the softest fall, which forces us to start again. If we're past the beach, the captain turns right into a channel. It's hard to reach and we have literally find a way there to keep track of him. Planning a new route is very difficult because you have to do it on the fly, so to say. So you don't have the best planning ability being occupied and brain limited like that. First I drove into the green, which was a dead end. The bike handles also pretty bad and that's why Tanner falls face forward to the ground. He positioned himself to fail the mission, but also me, you understand? Almost each fall ends the mission, because the guy on the boat apparently pumped kerosene. Generally speaking, are the routes of some foes annoying, like in this mission where you got to hunt down and kill the guy with the name Dubious. With you Uzi and him hundreds of miles away from him. His route is randomized and the game fails me fast for every mistake. You have to press enter all day long to fire at him, because he's equipped with a lot of health. I'd like to think of this one as some riddly diddle, where the devs expect us to find the right way in the street monkey business. But there is only one way, and if you misstep, it's Overlino. Again, drive up the beach, annoying. When we finally arrive at the checkpoint, the whole trip goes on by car, which is more pleasant, but some more boring. Maybe the devs should have dev'd the game that way, so you start in a car and to end it on the bike at the beach, but only better. Then, the whole show was ended with another shootout, which overwhelmed me, but at the second time I did it and sealed that chapter forever, once and for all. I also had more health at this checkpoint, unlike in the Charger Island mission mode. I find this mission unnecessary. It's different but different annoying. She's for different children, not something for us normal kids. As you can see, I'm not being impressed. That's why I'ma show you a mission which was a highlight. I got to dig hard through me footage to find them highlights, by the way. I am a huge sucker for destructible environments in video games. Before you do that though, you got to prove yourself by absolving an obstacle course. This mission is very good, my friend. It's fun to drive through that parkour and causing some fireworks. The devs made it pretty scenic with special camera angles. This also takes a few tries, but that's the standard in this game here. This is not a good characteristic, but I only accept it. Here comes the thrill cam feature, which I love so much about Driv3r. One of my favorite features is the thrill cam. Clicking secondary fire, a white camera shutter effect appears. Everything is in slow motion and you see events from a different camera angle. It comes across like watching a movie but having the control of Tanner. With this function you can make everything look cinematic. Crashes, roadkills, stunts, crossing tracks, or even looking at the condition of your occupied car. It's a very cool feature and I love it. Reminds me of another game from Reflections, Stuntman, which is based on filming movies in the styles of the 70s while being involved in chases. Driv3r shares optical similarities with Stuntman. One video even calls Stuntman a Driv3r tech demo. At the end, you need to enter a bar and take everything and everyone apart. From glasses to tables to jukeboxes and arcade machines. For me, this concludes to one good mission because you can make the jumps look like a movie and you can even live your lowest senses. having fun to destroy stuff others had built. The first person is available via the push of one button. It's just another camera angle, no special extra animations for your guns or you seeing Tanner behind the steering wheel. Sitting in the vehicle you can see the front in the height of the windshield, I guess. Or even in sequences where you got to drive by shoot stuff. There are 2 side scrollers. Both of them are pretty good. Although the armed enemies are not shooting at us. I think they should have built in such features. Then make them unprecise or let them hand out less damage. Cosmetically it would have looked good. First, you have to rescue the prostitute Katerina. She's actually similar to the princess in Marlin. You have to pull her out of the shit. So you're driving there because she's calling you. Of course, she ain't allowed to die, so time limit and such. So it shoots through the marketplace. It escorts the escort bitch to the car. It starts the on-rail section. All weapons are handed out to you to use them as you wish, and it's quite fun. If you time the grenades from the M79, you can sling the cars up the air. Ration your grenades though. It's nice tearing up the enemy's cars to see them exploding, or when you hit the wheels, how the driver loses control and hits a tree. Very funny is when they ram a wall full speed. Property damage is also a thing, because me and the enemies are driving through the market, destroying multiple fruit stands. A fast-paced undertaking without the game forcing and bugging you 10,000 times to start again. I just told you about preserving the nade launcher ammo. Here in the second rail shooter mission the game gives you 200 of it. On top there is a MAC M10 with 3000 rounds, which helps when the blue ones come too near. At the beginning the cop pricks are slow. Even the citizens are helping me by ramming them frontally. Sometimes they kill themselves and the car leaks. After the game physics are fully collapsing, the auto-scroller stops. Here is another big roadblock. We land in the water and need to escape. A police boat literally sticks on our boat and keeps being stuck for a moment. I can't reach the waypoint by boat because I'm getting teleported back again and again because the map's end is reached. This makes a poor impression because the game itself sent me to water, so I can get back on land again. So it goes from the back of the truck into the water and then back to land. There I have to get rid of the cops once and for all. Any shape per form. So I am driving to the meeting point and then I let it rain scrap metal. Boats are the only vehicles which allow you to shoot out of it without any support from passenger. The fastest boat is the cigarette boat. It's the fastest and the best, but keep in mind you have to decelerate, if not you will die because of those disgusting physics. If you have to think about that, then they could have stopped it altogether. In this mission here I have to blow up a yacht. This is the best open sea mission, as I like to call it. Ultra shite is that bug that kills Tanner getting off that boat because he's not synced with it. It's freaking instant kill. We're collecting some C4 on the docks, or rather boat houses, and then we mount them on this yacht. I like the skybox in this mission combined with orange sunlight. It really looks good. Setting the yacht as battleground made me also really like it. There is a lot of destructible stuff and the first aid kits are placed good enough. It's a pity that the final explosion is pre-rendered. Grand Theft Auto 3 handled it way better, and there was no yacht, there was a whole container ship with objects sitting on it. I'm ending the whole story mode shit with the last 3 missions. Those missions are not on par with the other shit. The reason why you feel relieved of never playing that game again. Before, I wanna note how you could shoot at your police colleagues and suffer the consequences. There are not such details after this mission ever again. Everything starts holding on to Catalina. Before that, we have to shoot our way through an abandoned building with Tanner's colleague. The interior itself makes it very difficult to navigate through. Also, the enemies are bad to see. They blend in with the environment. Oh, look here, I just got killed from behind and sent to heaven. Very often, the enemies are like standing paper targets who shoot back, and when they're behind a door, for example, they act active and storm the place. Placing markers would have helped. Summarized, there's nothing special happening besides that we play the same guy. He shares the same animations with Tanner and makes no difference. Items are placed dumb, behind a door for example. The door, which should lead us out of this maze, blended in with the environment. Thus, I've spent a bit of time with wandering around to find an exit in time. Then, there was this shitty movement which got me killed. I just wanted to head downstairs. We're switching to Tanner again and have to tail Catalina. Then she activates the bridge and we go ahead and turn it right back down. As she gets on her bike, the mission turns to shit. Me just getting on a bike made me lose already. I don't have any idea what the game wants from me. I think that I have to meet her on some certain point on the map. I could not ram her off the bike. Let alone the fact that her health bar is not a good indicator for the mission because I can't add any damage to her. A nice detail is how the paving stones making their own sounds while driving on it. The distance the game allows is too low. Driving straight, I won't lose that girl, but as soon as I have to turn, the distance gets too much and the mission fails. With that shit bike handling, things aren't getting any easier. As soon as I drove through that mosque, I can't believe what I just said, I am falling off the bike again and I lose again. After some time passed, I found out that I crossed the curves much better while holding the shift key. This key is responsible to make burnouts. Then I finally arrived and was shot immediately. Then I fell off. At least I made some progress. I've never made it this far. And it happened. You can catch her. This time she did not make the curve. Even here you can perfectly capture that the game isn't communicating with the stinking player behind the computer screen. So was this whole thing about to catch her or to bring her to the point never to drive somewhere again? Are we gonna find this out? No, because I don't have no goat anymore. What a complete joke of a mission before the last mission. It's based on that your car is wobbly and does not sustain the slightest vibration. There are barrels thrown off the truck and on contact they'll explode. Before they hitting you, you at least can shoot at them. Of course, this mission also got a time limit and you have to hold the enter key permanently while you're hoping the truck is losing some health. You yourself, of course, have less HP than the truck and you can lose any time when you hit other cars or barrels too many times. It seems easier to play in first person, feels like I am better than. By the way, you can't manipulate your crosshair. I'm aiming with my steering wheel. Here again, right before mission end I fail. Then I've noticed it's more effective to attack the truck from the side. In conclusion, the game just throws you in some situation where you got to look for yourself how you get things done, and if you figured it all out, you can start all over again. Without any explanation based on trial and error. Y'all shut up. Don't joke about it. San Andreas wasn't even out at this point. Let me talk about the last mission of the story mode. Tanner tails a train. Most part of this mission takes place on the train tracks, because the tunnel does not lead nowhere. Some guy shoots at us who stands on the train. Another train hits us and forces me into the air. Of course, we're using the same car again, like in the last mission. They ran out of ideas. I had an idea and drove on the road to dodge all that shooting. I came far, but then the mission failed. Then we're doing the intended way. We overtake the train and arrive at the bridge where we need to arrive at. Thus, we beat the most annoying part of the mission. Now, we come to the game's final shootout. I find it pretty cool how that part was designed. They fitted the segment of the open world with broken car wrecks and roadblocks. Not really imaginative, but at least it's there. Criminals with nade launchers shoot at us. Enemies start to glitch around. Suddenly some despawn, and Tanner also start to freak out by shooting like that. Finally, we are arriving at the final stage and the boss fight against Jericho ensues. First, we take out his guards. Jericho is freaking weak. He walks around all the time and rolls himself. Where is that gameplay cutscene disconnect again? In the introduction cutscene, he was the criminal himself. A guy on a killing spree who kills every cop who crosses his sights, and then in the gameplay the best thing he got are weak health points, which I have to set to 0. I don't like the story. A few missions stick out, like I already told you before. But all in all, it sucks. No wonder I haven't touched that game since my child neighborhood. The music is dependent from the time of day, which you can set in the free roam mode menu. There are 2 music pieces while in free roam. The neutral music, which plays in the background while exploring the world, and then the one which rings while you are in trouble with the police again. The police chase music for Miami is the best one. She sounds very action-packed and underlines the events pretty good. Has something rock music style on it, and I likes rock. There are also tracks for weather and time of day settings. The Nizza free roam music is one of the worst earworms I've ever had. It's been years it got into my brain and harasses me, making me think of nothing else. The wanted level music in Nizza is too different in comparison to the normal one, but that's okay. There is not a lot to say because of the music looping in the background. The melody could sound good or bad. At the end of the song, you'll get used to it. All in all, the music is pretty good. Player gets informed that he's been tailed. There's some action around. Everything is neutral at the moment. Another subject which we'll talk about much more on this channel is the EAX implementation. EAX was middleware from Sound Blaster, which was utilized from the devs to create 3D sound. Guns sound more realistic. Realistic spatial sound was implemented as if real sound waves interact with the environment. The sounds get modified because the software is calculating the sound based on the textures and their properties. Sounds have more deepness because, as you know, they're influenced from the environment, thus more details arise because it's considered from which direction the shot came from. Just listen for once! In this scene I am firing in first person. And here in third person. It improves the sound because it makes every freaking stock sound which you've heard 1,000 times more special. It will sound slightly different depending on the structural circumstances. With Windows Vista launching, everything went down south. Creative Lab Sound Blaster EAX wasn't system compatible no more. Nowadays everyone has his own 3D sound solution. Counter-Strike 2 and the new Hitman games are just some current example coming into my mind. Naturally, there are morally reprehensible authors like for the game Cyberbully 1488 and Call of Duty. Morally reprehensible because such features are delivered with the game, not as an afterthought of a Third Reich party. Ridiculous. I rather use my alchemy with my external Creative Sound Blaster sound card, so I can reactivate the effect because I just heard about this thing. And I won't let it be taken away from me, as long as the installation does not get too complicated. Many gamers and gamerettes do not know nothing about EAX, and they don't have any idea about it how I know of it, and I find that it enhances the gaming experience by a big amount. Gun sounds sound more realistic because of the new echo. Not much is changing, but motors sound better. The firing of guns in buildings sound as if real sound waves would clash with the environments. And you can hear a better difference between engine sounds if you're looking behind with the in-game cam. Also, drive-bys sound a little different, as if somebody would shoot an IMI Uzi from the side. Check the channel Idrinklava. He has made tons of videos of the subject HRTF and EAX, which brought my attention to these subjects a long time ago. Sound in games is very important, almost more than graphics. The cars have pre-made forms of damage, but they still look dynamic. Even as a child, I had the feeling that the police cars can look the most damaged. Just like in Miami, the backside is pretty dented. If the sirens on the police taxis are active, you can destroy them and hear how they sound. A cool but rare detail is when you lose a tire. You can shoot out all windows in cars and the effect looks nice. It's pretty dense and the sound playing along is the same, but it's good enough. When colliding, the particle effects look dynamic and good. If the doors are open, they are able to collide with your environment. If the cars blow up, they leave many physical objects, and for some funny reason you can enter the wrecks again, but you can't control them, of course. The automobiles are falling apart in their single parts, front, back, and even the cabin are separating. Even the front, where the bumper is assembled, can fall off. The M79 grenade launcher has no impact grenades, but a timed detonation. That's cool, because it takes skill to utilize it, and of course it reminds me of Quake. It's appealing having a good timing to make use of the grenade. Also, there is all that other stuff from Uzis, Mag-10s, pistols, like the Beretta with and without a suppressor. The suppressor on the MP5SD image is a fake. You're not using a MP5SD in game. That's why the sound is that loud. The suppressed Beretta is forced in one mission where some gangsters meet and you got to infiltrate the meeting. The best gun is the M16 platform gun, because it has a high capacity magazine. To be really honest, I switch between the weapons back and forth when I'm running out of ammo. Thus, the guns don't make a huge Jackman difference.
Take him down.
The maps are boring, everything is real static, nothing is alive, besides the cops turning crazy and or the gun owners. They serve as sandbox to play around with the physics or to take apart the interiors, to shoot people, even Timmy Vermicelli from Vice City. I can only remember that guy being called Tommy Vercetti though. Or to start fights with the cops. Miami features the movable bridges you can manipulate. And then there still is Tanner's house, which I ruined too many times in one life, and an alleyway full of trash you can ramp through. Yeah, I'm pretty simple mate, having fun in that. But drivers, Miami sucks compared to Vice City. Even graphically. I like the France map the most because it hits home, Europe. Very good by reminding me of it. I can't do nothing in the Turkey map because I don't feel any connection to Turkey. Miami is cool because of other games I played before, like Scared Face, Vice City and City of Stories Vice. For me, the most interesting map was of Michael Kors Miami. I've been looking for landmarks from Scarface, Vice City and Miami Vice. I found that most realistic hotel, which could be represented by Vice City and even the author of Ken Rosenberg, Tommy's lawyer and accomplice. Sadly, I could not find the Sunray Motel from Scary Face. I drive the ocean, drove up and down and got disappointed. I also found the monorail very horny, but there was next to no activities with it. The building in which it arrives at isn't accessible. And then there was the Black Rock Coffee. Wanna know something? Let's take a trip to Miami ourselves. We're gonna look how good the devs realized the city in-game. From Miami Beach to downtown, in the direction to Pimple or Brickell to Bayside. There are landmarks which we know, and then again stuff we only see in zoos or totally exotic things like palm trees, sweet little iguanas or salmons. Overpriced prices, sports cars, beaters, old-timers, nice weather which can turn bad really fast from rainy to stormy. Before you ask, no, Tanner's house is non-existent. The place where he ought to live is full of tall buildings and hotels and some funny variant of a lighthouse. But here is his workplace and the Bangkok coffee, the museum, Dodge Island and the famous Ocean Drive. I love the bridges. There you get an astonishing view on the city and the different islands. Here we can see the marina. This is where in-game Tanner lives at. But in reality, there are only hotels and the compound which is empty in-game is full of buildings now. The marina itself turned out pretty small, but at least they let you in, unlike reality. Not drawn on the map, which made me forget that's even in the game, but surprised me even more while discovering it again. This here is the turf of the Legolas and the salamanders. At least this place was full of these little animals. Walking that way we can see Fisher Island. Here is that lighting house, but in some kind of artsy form. I haven't seen this structure before as a lighting house. Here we see Tanner's workplace, the pigsty. In real life there's a cannon standing outside. This used to be an analog clock. Today it's digital, just how it should be. This place, right at the Limes Park, was very relevant for me because it reminded me of a screenshot of, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, they were also here. They also said the one or the another title of fictional city which is based in Miami. Star Island. Completely locked off. Only Resident Evils and their visitors are allowed. but in game we got access. In game everything is more legal. In the reality everything looks like a typical American US suburb. Or rather like a city. Walking through Miami Beach, I've encountered this museum here. Above the building there, them 10 commandments. The windows were partly damaged and the police was 24/7 outside of that building. Guess it's a real criminal vicinity, fits the game. If we walk along Ocean Drive we discover many things. Parking valets, scamarantes. Seriously, these assholes are tourist traps. To like there is no floor in the barrel. They charge a 20% gratitude fee for wiping tables and serving you. Then you're supposed to tip and eat this canteen food that they serve you as food. But there are many sport cars to spot. There is something for every car artist in Miami. Tony Montana parks in his Cadillac in front of the CVS. Think of CVS as something like Ross Person or Denmark. In this specific one, the chainsaw scene from Scarface was filmed. You can also see this in the golden sign with which Miami now adorns itself, after the city didn't want the film to continue shooting there, because the reputation of the poor Cuban baby children of innocence is dragged through the guano. Let's take a bus and move to downtown. What do we find here? A Damn Hell's Chicken by Gordon Ramsay, the idiot who sold himself to DoorDash, an American company that deals with supplying people with G-slop. What a raw failure. As you know, John F. Kennedy was killed by them in cold blood. A memorial was built and you can recognize the torch of friendship. Normally, there is this place where the Miami logo would have been, but it's not there. Here, from another perspective, at the rail of the monorail. Even before entering the pier, we greeted with a Bayside sign, written in huge fake 3D letters. The Hard Rock Coffee at Bayside was renamed and the Ferris wheel is missing. Apart from that, the Bayside is recreated faithfully. The way which leads in and the archway are cool. Boats are visible from the distance. Once I decided to go for a walk. So I ran to North Beach, over a movable bridge, but it was deactivated at that time, or else you woulda knew what woulda happened. Then a horde of bikers passed by and then I found myself in some resident area. Full of houses where people reside in, lived in houses with occupants or even a place resembling a crack house. It was pretty boring, but all of a sudden I discovered a fence, and behind that fence there was the most beautiful view ever. I could look at all of Miami from there on ground level. Then I also had to go to court, because a scene in Miami Vice was filmed there. It was all full of sheriff police cars and strangely enough there were chickens running around. Generally speaking, in downtown there are tons of kitchens around. And tiny little ones too. Am I here in Mumar, Florida, or on a Counter-Strike map? In any case, there are two sides of the courthouse. Here the front, where the train passes, and here the back, where the officer walks to his service vehicle. In the game, it doesn't look like the real thing at all. Strangely enough, it looks much too modern and not in the architectural style of the Romans who everybody else steals from. Well, at least the building is here, front and back side. Did you know that Apple enforces the Safari browser in the US by making every other browser you can download just a Safari reskin? Your Chrome browser or any other one looks like Chrome, but it's still Safari under the hood. Whoever still uses Chrome. What a shit company. Oh, speaking of a shit company, they're there too. Fits perfectly with the Nvidia advertising in game. Sunny Isles. The town where just like that dilapidated buildings collapse. I wouldn't wanna live there. Apparently the concrete was cracked, something about pool area. The Miami Tower is huge, even in the game. I had to climb onto the elevated railroad tracks so that I can get a better view of the tower. That's how big it is. Yes, I had to walk because the train tore my bike off the tracks and because I can't get on the train to take a little ride. The tower is recognizable because of the sign at the entrance and the arrangement of the windows. It stands out very well. The tower has a total of 47 floors, or 48 because of ground floor, basement or whatever. Does that only make 45 for us? Talking about pretentious, big rich people's hotels, the Fontainebleau comes first in mind. The bow-shaped building and the tall building are really impressing for me. It looks cool how the tower reaches into the sky and the banana house stretches into the whiteness. Just the bow building looks like something like a building actually making a difference. For me, she is the landmark Miamisans. Sadly, the tower is missing in software Driv3r. It has been built back in 2005. The game takes place in 2004. Big changes have been done over the years, looking at the whole area as you can recognize yourself. It's on a big compound with multiple entries with a diverse array of fountains and signs. So, here are a few closing words to the Miami replica. I find the map done good. There are a lot of buildings with good details for the time. The devs went into big compromises, so they refused to include one and another building, but I'm fine with that, because the world is not entirely made out of pop culture references. Miami and surely the other two places are done great, but only as a backdrop where the 25+1 missions take place at. You can explore this backdrop freely. In the most cases it can bring joy to you when you in some cases even scream about you being there once. Or you can engage in fights with the civilians and cops or gangsters to pull off the one or another stunt or play around with the physics. It's a sandbox, nothing else. There is put much love in the details. I have to say it like that. I've been there and I've even played some games set in Miami. This one is the most detailed depiction of Miami in a realistic size, of course. But this counts only for static geometry. There is no Miami feeling. I would like to compare other games from the Grand Theft Auto franchise with Driv3r or even mention the Scarface game, but this would be unfair because all of those games are set in the 80s and what we find here is a modern world, but with automobiles from the 70s. I'm really curious about how Rockstar Games will bring across the fictional town Vice City, which leans on the design of Miami. Until now, Rockstar Games, Sony and Take-Two Interactive do everything that I don't feel ready to pre-order the game, and just as a side note, don't feel any joy. I just wanted to say that I don't have any idea how to judge the map. The mix-up between modern world and old vehicles gives the game something own. To cut it short, map good, feeling different to not available, because map static backdrop for story. The only interesting thing in Turkey was the tram and the nice and high count of Turkey flags. Nizza offered mountain roads, a real contrast to the flat-breasted Miami. All in all, the maps feel like a backdrop for the jungle player. Plus, some little mini games and nothing else, because there ain't nothing else to do. Another nice feature Alini is that people speak their own language in said countries. The Miamians speak Anglo-Saxon Miami. The Frenchies make their weird sounds, parlent en français, and the Turks speak Turkish. At night the environmental looks really good, featuring all the lights and that slight blur effect around the backlights of the cars. It looks like somebody had it filmed with his Panasonic camcorder. Also, a big pity is that there ain't no day-night cycle, because I think it would be better fit the open world theme. That's what makes me call this a pure sandbox or backdrop. Another thing I'm asking, why all the advertisement? Nokia, Nvidia, Imagini, a driver-gate game including DLSS5. Nobody wants that. I mean DL-Waffen-SS5. Cops. Naturally, we ourselves are a cop pick, but there are other cops who react to our actions. In missions, they help us given the right context. Out of missions, in free mode, they patrol around the city and waste gas on taxpayers' tab. If we commit a crime, they attack us or take us into custody. It all starts with little crimes, for example to jump on a police vehicle, attacking civilians with guns or a vehicle, to open carry guns in public or fire them, or even the crashing of cars. They'll show up on each crime committed in-game. Before the first boundary is crossed, the cops are focusing on detaining Tanner. If you overstep the boundary, they'll reach their gun. On car crashes though, the pigs will arrive at the scene and they don't know the perp. They start to look around stupid, start to hike, yawn, or even to look at their watch. Or they even attack random armed criminals. You don't need to cry about this being so typical American, because the filth is behaving like that also in France and in Turkey. By the way, not when you look at their driving behavior. In the US they make pit maneuvers. They drive into the wheel well to spin you out. The Frenchies hunting the player without ramming him, and the Turks instantly start ramming if they see you fleeing. Sometimes Tommy comes to help if it's about taking me down. The pigs in the US are not different from the pigs in France or the cows and chickens in Turkey. There's no special unit like SWAT. The officers just switch from using pistols to SPAS 12s. If you're hitting the pedal too fast, the police is after you. Even if you drive in the wrong way, you're in trouble. The cops are unbalanced. I hate it when extra features are created which would have been ideal for the sandbox thing, but don't get implemented. In the Turkey storyline, I got chased by a police boat. That's a total shame because of the effort. Somebody sat down, modeled, textured a boat together with the guys who made the scripts so the boat is functioning and can be implemented into the game. It can also happen that only the car itself is wanted if you get into a new one. So the danger's not giving the cops looking for you. If you're hitting the pedal too fast, the police is after you. Even if you drive in the wrong way, you're in trouble. The cops are unbalanced. They are fast on the spot and for you it's hard to get rid of them. You can shoot them. Then they're gone for some time. Sometimes they'll never show up again if you stay on the spot. But for the most time they respawn to hinder you to respawn ever again. To get rid of those jackasses forever, you have to visit one of your safe houses which are marked on the map. There your warrant will be set to 0 and you'll have medkits and ammo for all your guns you've unlocked so far. I find it pretty cumbersome to enter every time on one of those safe houses instead of shaking. The cars in Driv3r are all in all out of the 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s. There are next to no modern cars. The Turkey features the oldest, Miami is more progressive, and France drives Renault. We've got bikes. Small cars, how the Frenchy cops are using them, trucks, buses and service cars like the taxis and cop cars. I ain't no car expert, but I'm guessing these cars are modeled with some details in mind. I don't know if these cars are hybrids or not, which are put together of multiple cars. For example, the rear comes from one car and the front from another one. I don't even think these are licensed cars at all. My absolute favorite is the Lamborghini, or the Lamborghini. I don't know what the correct pronunciation is. Let's just call this mofo the Lumberjack. I'm talking about the Lumberjack Countach, not the Jalpo jackass. It's my favorite vehicle from my childhood. I even got a real Lumberjack in silver, scale 1 to 27 I believe. In child age I drove with it to private school while you had to walk to school. One of the most iconic cars of the 70s and 80s. Known from Miami Vice, even in white, and from Grand Theft Auto Vice City, also in white. I always get excited when I found the car in game, because it was mine in real life. The car is oddly enough only available in France, although the car is oddly enough only available in France, although, as you could have imagined, the car would have been better in Miami Reedus. I love the angular but curvy design of that vehicle and the wing doors, the sound, the speed, the best car in the whole game. The film director, which can be called up in the menu, is also a cool feature. There you can rewatch the gameplay and set cinematic camera angles. Me myself does not find it very useful, because I'm just fine using the thrill cam while being in game. Collectibles. In each town there are 10 Tommy Vermicellis residing to kill off. If all 10 are taken down, you will be asked to head to the armory. There you can cover yourself up with medkits and ammo, and you can even unlock a new mode. In Miami we are in a shelter where pictures of horse with the faces of the developers are hanging on the wall. There are also some US flags and the Confederate flag. This was before 2013. Nowadays everybody is crying about the flag is racist. Apple prohibits the sale of apps containing imagery of it. Two trucks or 18 wheelers are spawning, 2 Tommies are sitting in it and they wanna kill you. I went back to check if this is really the end of my reward now. Thanks to my curiosity, I fell through the map and died. In Nizza, it is the fugitive mode, in which armed suspects spawn. Those guys who attack the cops every time, only this time we are their enemy. In Turkey, we get a special ability to make all cars we're sitting in the heavy characteristic. That means automobiles weigh a lot and every other road user will be knocked out by us. But each collision costs us HP and the fun is not for too long. The rewards are worthless. There are no new game modes, just some events which happen if triggered by entering said armory. A tiny little gimmick which makes all collecting not worth it. But it was kind of fun finding all them Timmies too, because you got shown more of the world while doing that, if I'm being honest. I did also not like that every of those events is set to a map. You can't have the ultra heavy cars in Miami, and in Turkey you can't enter fugitive mode. There is a mod though. Pretty nonsensical to play around with the game and the modes when it's just set to one map. You have to understand that I looked at the minigames again to really make sure it is just a gimmick, not a new game mode unlocked. The minigames contain different modes. Quick chase. You're chasing down enemies and to shoot them down just like in the single player again. Quick getaway. You have to escape the fucking cops. In this gameplay footage I just drove down the bridge and the useless cops failed to tail me. Survival. Cop taxis are hunting you and every NPC, which are cops only, spawning on the sidewalk, wants to kill you. You cannot get out of the car or even defend yourself. You could start the free roam mode, because even there you would have more fun opportunities. The description says we need to survive, not for how long or something along that lines. There is not even a high score or a personal record time. There are no motivations to play the mode, and this makes it the worst one of all. Trailblazer. Here you run over traffic cones. Per run over traffic cone you'll get a time bonus, so you can beat the mission on time. You can leave out some cones, the game is quite liberal with it. Shit word. This mode I like the most. It's simply fun to maneuver the car around. Really simple, to put it simple. Gate race. Same as with the ones, but worse, because you have to pay more attention at more stuff. Minigames verdict. The minigames suck. On every map there is the same mode, and the only difference is the layout because of different map. There is no difficulty setting, no variation, and the scores are not written down on some scoreboard. No record time, high score, nada. Some modes you can set from 1 to 3, or 1 to 2, or only 1. It is really boring. Comes across as unfinished and uninteresting. Now we finally arrived at the ending. So what's there to say? I think that it is clearly visible that the developers ran out of time, because the suits made that decision. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas from the arch nemesis Rockstar Games was around the door, so they took what they had and released it, while hoping making enough sales with the bribery of them 2 gaming magazines, which they provided with exclusive review copies to get a perfect review score. Myself can recognize that there is put effort into the game, but nothing got finished. There are details, the destruction, the car handling, the cinematic effects, which were existing sometimes. The maps are too static and the missions not enough, with a big need of polishing. To recreate those huge and realistic maps you need references, pictures, videos, the exploring of those places. I got respect for that, but it hasn't helped the game much. The game has ambition, but nothing of it really sticks. The gameplay is oftentimes one-sided and really oftentimes annoying. On many places, like the Warren system, too small. It could have taken half a year or even a full one. Good cast, nice in-house music, but not that good gameplay. With that being said, I'm out. I wanna thank you for watching. I got to cut a Counter-Strike Condition Zero deleted scenes video now. We hear us there then again. Your Arne Rosenthal. Rosenthal. tiny, tiny, and tiny little ones too.